right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen, to another open live Q&A. My name is Mr. McLogan, and in this live stream, I am here to answer your questions. But one thing I got as we're kind of figuring or coming over to the end of winter break is that I wanted to separate my streams from actually doing math questions, which I still want to be doing and still going to be doing. So if you do have math questions, put them on brianmclogan.com/Q&A, which is actually right up there. But I like on these Sunday streams just because they are a little bit more informal to just kind of answer your questions and just kind of be there for you guys to, address whatever questions you guys have upcoming, week. I know a lot of times we just took a break and celebrating time with our family. And then we're having the dreaded, school is back tomorrow, or maybe you have school coming in on Tuesday, which my daughters do. So we have one more day of winter break before the school comes back in. But I really do love answering the math questions, but it gets to be so much for me to be able to do them on the Sundays. So I am going to open up another stream. I will post it on the community post. I am thinking though right now, it is going to be on Saturday. But so if that's something you're interested in, or you've been sending in questions, you're like, when can this guy go and do some questions? I will be putting some of that work. I'll probably be doing like 10 questions a day and just go into the live stream on a Saturday. So look out for that. You guys will be able to see that kind of stuff. And yeah, I'm excited for it. But I always like doing the questions on today. It's just, once I get talking for like an hour and then it's like, all right, let's go and do some math questions. My brain just gets fried. And I was looking at the last stream or the last couple streams where I was trying to do some math questions and I was like making some simple mistakes. And I'm like, this is not good. I should not be making some mistakes on the live streams. But then it really thought to me, I'm like, why am I making these mistakes, or what, how can I avoid this? And a lot of times is, by like going through the questions or answering questions from you guys and talking for like an hour, it's just, you get drained and it becomes more and more difficult to be able to make sure that you can accurately describe exactly what you're teaching, because even when you're a teacher and every single day there's prep work, even when I know what exactly I'm teaching, I still have to prep and I still have to prepare and get myself mentally ready to be able to teach that in front of the classroom. And I think doing a live stream and answering your guys' questions is no different. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that. I will try to do a better job of scheduling these streams. Right now, this time noon is figuring out to be one of the better times for me to be able to do. I can still get kind of morning stuff done, with my kids and, go to church and take care of whatever else we need to in the morning. And then kind of like the afternoon is kind of like a relaxing time. So my kids are right now watching Mrs. Doubtfire, just relaxing. And so I was like, that's a good movie, by the way. So I kind of feel like, that's a good time for me to kind of escape. Because then once we get into dinner and the late night, it's too much for on these Sundays. So if you do have any questions or anything else that's coming up, let me know. I'll be happy to answer them inside the chat. If you have a math question, I will not be doing math questions. I might be able to get to the math questions. I don't know. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't know. We'll always see if there's maybe a couple math questions I can get to. We'll see how the live stream goes. But it looks like it's not a lot of questions. Then, I don't know. We'll keep it short. We'll see. So, hey, Earth Enchant, good to have you on. Birazavit, hello. Hello, Alaska Trailmakers, good to have you on. Monet, hello. Manette, I have a math test tomorrow. Well, best of luck. I wonder if you had a break. Let me know. Are you just like come back from break? Because we actually used to have in my school, it was really weird. Like we had to have break right before finals. So literally the week the kids came back was all like finals. And it did not work out very well from there. But curious if you had a break or not. Did you watch Barbarazam? No, I did not. My question is squaring or square root. Well, what exactly is your question about squaring or the square root? Let me know. I'll be happy to help. What helped you keep math making sense and easy for you? Well, here's the funny thing. Math never really made sense to me or was easy for me to kind of like understand. It took a while. And I think that's something that you have to understand about yourself. In my circumstance, like math would make sense. It just took a lot longer. And I remember being in classes where it seemed like everybody was understanding things before I was. And it was very, very frustrating. And of course, I had doubts with myself. Like, am I stupid? Can I not understand this stuff? And it wasn't until I got into college that I just understood that that's just the way my brain works. I just needed to mature a little bit longer. I just need more examples, more time for my brain to like wrap around the ideas. And so one thing I guess I can offer to you as, some advice per se would be that, give yourself time. Keep on revisiting things. Just don't give up because something doesn't make sense or it seems hard. You know, Look at things from different angles, maybe get some different explanations from different people. And I think the more times that you have touch points with trying to understand something and you look at things from different angles, the easier it is for things to be able to make sense. But give yourself time. Math is not a race. And I know it can be frustrating, but I'm telling you that I don't feel that because something doesn't make sense instantly, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. That doesn't mean you can't still learn it. Just keep on putting in the work, and I think you will improve. Hey, Gabe, good to have you on. Good to see you again. It's been a while. I think you've probably been on a couple other live streams, but it's just good to have you on in the new year, 2025. I have to take Keystones for Algebra 1. I'm not sure exactly what Keystones is. Can you go far in math if you have absolutely no interest in it and hate to do it to death? Well, I mean, you can do anything, I guess, but I think there is a level of interest and intrigue that is important if you're going to go far in anything, right? Because I think there's always going to be something that's going to be pulling you away from doing it. And I think about this as like, inside your like doing a job or something like that. Like there's a lot of things I don't like to do. And there's some things like I don't like to do, but I have to do them, right? They're part of like uploading videos on YouTube. It needs to get done. If a video is going to go out, it needs to get done. And I don't want to do it, right? But I also think that for you to master a craft or for you to be exceptionally well and to do far in that, there has to be some level of enjoyment. There has to be, because you can do it for a while, maybe a couple of years, but eventually things are just going to get so unbearable for you that you're going to have some resentment toward it. So yeah, you can still learn the math. You're still going to have to put in the work and you can still, not enjoy everything about it. But that's why one thing, I understand not everybody's going to love math and not everybody needs to go as far as other people in math. I think there are some certain levels that I think it's important for everybody to be able to experience. And there's some math topics and knowledge that I think really is beneficial to our society for everybody to have. But I think it is sometimes difficult when we're forcing ourselves to feel like we have to love this stuff and continuing going down the path. Because yeah, if you don't have some enjoyment on it, I think it's okay to understand that we all have unique interests. We all have unique talents, and not everything is always centered around math from on there. So I think you do need to, especially for math, even if like you have to get some things done, like you're in a course, find some things that you enjoy, find some elements of it that you can pick out, and also just realize some things you just got to get done, and that's the reality. We're not going to love everything that we do in our life. So, and that's okay, but do what you need to do to get done, and then focus on really the things that you do enjoy. I think that's really important. There is, hey, Kevish, how you've helped me so much in algebra. Thank you. You are very welcome, Caddy. What is the value of maths? Well, I would actually have a video that I was going to make. I'm still going to make. I actually wrote it out for that kind of tackles all three of these. And there's kind of 3 points that I have on that. And I'm not sure if I can remember them all, but I'll give you some of the fundamentals, or at least that's off the top of my head, at least the one example that I remember the best. And that is like math gives us this ability to see the world in a much larger sphere than what it is. And what I mean by that is if you have a simple mathematical mind, right? You barely just understand addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. You have a very simplistic idea of, mathematical ability. Well, your ability to be able to look at the world and what's around us and how everything is interconnected is kind of like looking at the world with a straw. So if I was to take you to the Grand Canyon and I said, look at the Grand Canyon, and you look at it through a straw, you'd probably be like, oh my God, wow, this is like amazing. But let's say you didn't know, you were just looking at it through a straw and you just see like these cliffs, but whatever you can see is just through this little straw, right? Because you're limited. See, our understanding of mathematics allows us to take away that straw and to look at and have a better understanding of everything that's around. So when you have a stronger level of mathematics, it's like not looking at the Grand Canyon from a straw, but looking at it with your two eyes. And you'd be able to see everything around there. And you see the beauty, and you see you can see the river and all and the canyons and all the everything. It's like it's so much more beneficial. And I think I relate that a lot with like the more you understand math, the more that just things make sense around you. And that's why we always talk about like the building blocks of the world, right? And it really truly is. And I don't think it's necessary. Like you can get by without having a strong mathematical knowledge, right? There's a lot of really famous people and really rich people that have a very limited mathematical brain, or at least or let's say trained mathematical mind. So I'm not saying that like math is the pinnacle. And I think that sometimes in our society, we always treat it as that pinnacle. However, I am a very, very big proponent of it because I've seen what it's done for me and what it's done for other people. And I treat it like that way of like, you can still have success with the limited mathematical knowledge. But if you're going around life looking at it through a straw, it's just much more difficult for you to be able to, I think, for more than just one person be able to get that success. But when you have that ability of that strong mathematical background and you can see that whole Grand Canyon, you can see everything and you understand how things are more interconnected, I think it gives you more tools to find success. And I think that's what's so important. Awesome, Kavish. And there's two other points that I had on there. I just can't remember what they were off the top of my head, but you'll see the video. The video will come out, and hopefully you will enjoy it. What advice do you want to become a pilot? Well, I actually had two roommates that were pilots, and I'm not sure if I have any particular advice on turning pilot because I was not a pilot, but put in the work, and I know it was a lot of work for them. They really enjoyed flying. They loved that aspect of it, but it was also very, very demanding. And so I think what you want to understand and what they ended up getting out of being pilots because they didn't like the schedule and kind of like what you had to do to eventually get those like really high end routes, where they enjoyed flying. They just didn't enjoy being a pilot for like commercial airlines. So I would just recommend find your end goal. Like I think it's amazing to be able to learn how to fly. And I can't even imagine what it'd be like to be up in the sky all by yourself doing like a solo flight. Like that would have to be amazing. But I think just also continue looking into like, what's your end goal, right? You got your flying license. Awesome. And you want to be a pilot. Great. Where do you see yourself in 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, right? And just realize that kind of what I mentioned before, it's going to take some work. It's going to take some sacrifice. But if you have that end goal, if that's what you want to achieve, that's what you want to be in your life, then those sacrifices are going to be worth it. I want to start writing a math book. I love that. But first, I need to learn some of the topics such as trigonometry and calculus. What approach would you recommend taking? Well, I would focus on learning as many things on trigonometry and calculus that you can before getting into writing the book. I'm not sure what your angle is on your book or what kind of spin you're trying to add with the book, but I think one of the things that I tell students all the time when they want to like self-learn is don't just rely on one book. Don't just rely on one teacher. I think it's really, really important that in today's age that you take advantage of all the information that we have out there on the internet, on YouTube, and then different textbook writers, right? So you have like your mainstay textbook writers, both, and I'm mainly talking about American schools. There's maybe like a list of 5, right? And almost all schools are going to come out of those 5 books. But one thing that really opened my eye, especially after like looking on YouTube and looking at, stuff online, is I got different perspectives of the way that other people understood and we're explaining the concepts. And that gives me different enlightenment. And when I was a teacher, I'd always try to bring those in as well, because yeah, the textbook is great. But also it's going to be from somebody that is, trained in teaching in, in the university and creating a textbook and, making great instructional material. But I don't think for everybody, it would always be the best. So, your book has a possibility to make some great impact for helping students that maybe learn the way that you learn. So my recommendation for you would be to gather as much of that resources and information that you can from different perspectives, and then put your own spin on it. And I think that's how you can stand out in the marketplace with your own book. So best of luck. I think that's awesome. How do you get back into math after 2-week winter break hiatus? If you have a test this Tuesday, I'm noticing it's really difficult to get back into the groove of studying and preparing. Yeah, absolutely. So if you were to ask my advice before break, I would say don't take a break from your math. And I get it. I was a high school student too, guys. I'm not going to lie. It's not like I was studying math every single day. You might think of me as like a math nerd because I made so many math videos, but there's nothing more that I wanted over winter break than was to take a break, right? So, and I did. And I think that's also important for you as well, to take a break. From my time though, as being a teacher and working with students that struggle with math, as well as ones that excelled, I realized that taking a complete break where you don't even open up your book, you don't even look at things, a lot of times can do more damage than good. So I would have recommended at the beginning of break just to spend like 15, 20 minutes. Nothing crazy, nothing like doing a lot, but just doing a little bit just to kind of keep that stuff a little fresh in your brain. And I used to give like assignments, over winter break where I would just offer it to my students. I never had it required, but for those students that still struggled in my class or wanted that little bit extra help, I wanted to have something provided for them that they could do. Now you're in the situation though, where that doesn't matter because you already took your break off, right? And now you got to get into this mindset of getting ready for a test. In my opinion, I think it's just, you gotta fight through it. It's difficult. And I think once you probably have a week of assimilating back in school, you'll be okay. But when you got to take this quick turn, right? You have tonight and tomorrow studying for this test, find maybe a different place to study or to go ahead and prepare. Maybe go to the library, maybe go to the coffee shop, go find someplace else where you can really focus and get away from maybe your house where you've been hanging out for the last 2 weeks or whatever may be the case. So maybe just change your environment and really just try to design like, hey, I'm going to put 2 hours in today. Because I will tell you, once you focus in, once you kind of turn the corner and you put a little bit of time, start going into there, you're going to get back into that mindset rather quickly. Now, I will say for most students, it assimilates about a week. You probably need to really kind of get back into the routine and groove. You don't have a week. So start today after this live stream, go somewhere, start the studying process for you. And then hopefully tomorrow will be, once you're back into school, you'll have a little bit of motivation, like crap, I got a lot of studying, prepare for this test, and that will help you out. Hey, Alec, good to have you on. I feel like when you can't explain math concepts in simplistic terms, you understand it at all. But I don't know if that's true. Let me say this again. I feel like when you can't explain math concepts in simplistic ways, you don't understand it at all, but I don't know if that's true. I mean, I think there's a lot of truth to it. That, obviously I think there's like the Einstein, like if you can explain it as a second grader, like you really understand it. So I think there is a lot of, truth to it. I think what it also kind of comes into, or the foundation of that, is not so much understanding what it is you're doing, but understanding the depth. And that's one thing that I never really truly understood until I became a teacher, right? So for any of you guys that know my story, I got a D in pre-calculus my senior year. Now, obviously getting a D, stinks. It's like, oh man, I'm really bad. But like, it's not like I didn't learn anything. Like I knew a lot of stuff. I just didn't prepare and didn't really care about the course, right? So I didn't prepare a lot for my tasks. I usually scored pretty bad on them, but I learned a lot of stuff. I had a really good teacher, and I enjoyed the class, even though I got a D, right? But I struggled with it as well. So then when I decided to become a math teacher, I had to take pre-calculus again in university, obviously. And I ended up getting an A. And I felt like I understood the information pretty well, right? I got an A. I was all like motivated. I was actually doing the work, doing my homework, actually studying. I put in effort and I got an A. Well, then I went to go ahead and teach pre-calculus. And that was when I really feel like I got completely exposed, because what I thought I knew, I was like, I got an A in pre-calculus. Like, I don't need to prepare as much. I remember all the stuff. And I didn't know it for the depth to be able to teach my students, right? They're asking questions and I'm like, I don't know the answer to that. Or, they'd ask like the why questions, or does it work in this situation? And I didn't know, right? I had an understanding of what to do. Like, I could explain how to get the answer, but I was like, oh my God, I'm really over my head. And that was the same thing happened when I first started teaching calculus. I was like, hadn't taken calculus since, college. I was completely over my head. Like, I remembered how to do things. I could do them, but to teach and explain them to other students, especially students that maybe didn't have that foundational knowledge that you already had, it was very difficult. And the one thing I've learned about teaching year after year is you get that depth of that understanding. And that's something I can completely agree with, because when you get that, the more depth you get, the better understanding you have, and the more simplistic you can kind of make things to explain to people. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with the statement. I think you can definitely understand something without making it simplistic. But I think the more simplistic you can make something, the deeper you understand it and the more powerful it is. Oh man, stop spamming. Are you serious? Just answer your question. Now you got to spam. All right. Do you believe mathematics should still be compulsory beyond 9th or 10th grade? Because honestly, I feel like we get the gist of how to think methodically and make all those links. So this is actually a great question. This is something I think about all the time. And actually, I think about this so deeply. I was even thinking about making another YouTube channel just to talk about education. So I actually agree with you. After 10th grade, I think there should be more, and I haven't done a lot of research on it, so I don't want to act like I know exactly everything that I'm talking about. But for my understanding of the more European model would be, after 10th grade, you really kind of focus in on where places that you want to go. Like, what you kind of focus in more on like the jobs and the education that you're going to go into, what really excites you. And I think that is something that we need to be able to build a strong foundational knowledge for students in 9th and 10th grade. And it should be like generic and across the board. But I really do believe then after, like, for 11th and 12th grade, we should more focus on what the students need for them that's going to benefit them the most. Because I think a lot of times we push students so much into certain courses and getting AP credits and, stuff that they don't really care about, or that's not really going to benefit them. And I think it does more harm than good. So obviously I have a strong affinity for mathematics and students doing well in mathematics, but I also completely understand that, like, in 11th and 12th grade, mathematics might not be the best route for students to continue their educational journey. Or let me put it this way, maybe not the traditional courses that we are teaching in 11th and 12th grade is right for every student. And so, I talk about this all the time that, I took calculus in college, not in high school, and I just wasn't ready for it. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I ended up getting my degree in mathematics. I ended up teaching for 14 years. I ended up making a YouTube channel with over 13,000 math videos on it. Like, there's no requirement that you have to be able to take this course. And if you don't take this course, then you cannot find success. So I think that to bring back an educational system where students have that buy-in, because I think what I hate when I left the classroom is there are a lot of students, like, once they get after 10th grade, like, they either go to, was it a dual enrollment, or they do like a work study. Like, they're just not invested in education. They're taking classes they just don't care about, and they're not excited to show up to school anymore. And so I think that is something that we need to look at in a more deeper tone. And maybe that should be something that I should create a channel on to continue talking about. So thank you. Hi, could you give me an idea about when you can't do fraction canceling? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by fraction canceling, or when you can't do it or when you can do it. Obviously, what you need to understand is whenever you have a term in the numerator and in the denominator that are exactly the same, then they divide to 1. So that's technically why we call that canceling. If you have multiple terms in a numerator and denominator, as long as everything's separated by multiplication, you can apply that division or canceling out those terms. But if you have terms that are separated by addition or subtraction, you obviously cannot do the canceling. So hopefully that was maybe an explanation of what you're looking at. If not, let me know. Is it normal to study math with videos only, or should we also need to read math books? So when I was learning, I never had math videos, so I can't really speak onto that. And also I remember trying to read math books and like, I didn't really understand it. And it wasn't actually until I got to college, I learned how to like read math books, and like, I was like, oh my God, this is actually, you can actually read a math book. Like I never even knew that existed. I just thought math books were there for examples and stuff like that. So I think watching math videos though is extremely helpful. Like watch a video, pause it, and then like do the work and then try to see if you got the exact same work that they did. I think that's extremely helpful. And one of the things I hated about learning from math books is sometimes you don't understand a step, or sometimes you don't understand, how they go from point A to point B. There's no further context in it. Where as a YouTube video, what I always tried to do in my videos, and I'm not always successful on it, so I'm not saying I'm the best or anything, was that always providing students context of why I'm doing certain steps, because those are always the missing parts when I would see other people that were maybe other math teachers that were maybe strong in math, and they wouldn't say it or wouldn't write it down, which I agree. Sometimes it is very tedious to always be writing that kind of stuff. But I always felt that was important from the learning journey for the student. And that's why I always try to include that when I'm teaching. But that's what I think math videos can kind of have the benefit over, reading a math book. But I would include both. I think both of them can be very powerful in your math journey. Wow, 6 years now. Well, you are very welcome, Eli. Math is not the same thing. Difficult. It is easy to learn, and that is not make it value. Maths is not same thing. Difficult. It is easy to learn, and that is not make it value. Well, not everybody. Yeah, I'm not sure where we're going with that. Hi, Brent. Hope you're having a good day. What would you recommend I do to review calculus start to finish? I mean, I'm not sure where you're at. If you've taken calculus already before, I would just go back through your old notes, review it, back from on there. I am working on some like courses to kind of like look into like reviews, like full on courses. I'm sure there's probably like a 4-hour video on YouTube already of like going through calculus. I would just kind of review something like that. It really kind of depends on like the depth that you need to go into. But if you don't have any previous resources, I would just look online, or maybe even a course, and just something that you can kind of review and freshen yourself back up with that. If you have previously gone through the course and you have your older materials, then I would just go back through everything from start to finish. What would you recommend a new freshman in college to review right after taking a gap year? What should I review before calculus and other classes? So I'm assuming you're going into calculus. Well, I would definitely recommend going back through pre-calculus as well as algebra 2. The biggest things that students struggle with in calculus is the algebra. And obviously you want to have a little bit more depth from the trigonometry from a pre-calculus course or a trigonometry course. So I would definitely focus on reviewing those two. And I think if you have a good foundation of the algebraic concepts that are taught in algebra 2, as well as in pre-calculus, as well as a good foundation of trig, then you should be ready to go for calculus. Remember, your teacher is going to provide the main instruction for calculus. So I think you just need to have those foundational skills and you'll be ready to rock and roll. If you want to submit that at brianmclogan.com/Q&A, I will look into be doing that next Saturday. Why can't I get that? Dev. There you go. Okay. Oh, there. Please, would you give me an opportunity to become a pilot? That is my dream. And I'm also so good about math. I love that. And I live in Africa. There's no opportunity to become a pilot. I'm sorry to hear about that. And, I think just keep on looking at opportunities that you have. Sometimes opportunities come with us when we least expect it. And I think two things you can do is, one, grow your value. And the second thing is look for opportunities, because some things that happen is sometimes opportunities come and go and you never get that opportunity again. So you always got to be on the lookout though for them. So continue growing your value and then look for opportunities. And I'm not saying like being a pilot's going to jump right in front of you, but there might be other opportunities to other opportunities to other opportunities that will be in front of you that you can take advantage of, that might end up being something where becoming a pilot becomes an option. How do you overcome burnout of what you love to do? Sometimes it feels wrong pursuing your interest. So how do you hold up and not run out of ideas? So are you talking about me, or are you talking about maybe something that you are battling with? I guess I'll talk about myself. And then if that's something that you are battling with, maybe that can be helpful or you can relate it to what you do. So I love helping people. That's just a natural passion of mine. Like I literally get energy from seeing people be successful, from either my words of encouragement or my educational teachings. Like that gives me fuel. It really does not drain me. It like makes me more excited and more energy throughout the day. So that one is like, it's a fuel for me. So I love the fact of being able to help people, seeing them reach their greatest potential. Now, in terms of like, is this always fun? No. Are there things on YouTube that I do not like doing? Or is there things teaching math I do not doing? 100%. Even like going through my ideation process, even going through the upload process, there's a lot of things I hate to do. And also even like coming up with ideas, for math, like I don't always love that. Like I just love teaching. I love being with people. I to be honest with you, I just wish I could like kind of be a teacher, but not have any of the negative stuff of being a teacher. So, but I think one of the things that keeps me going, or, giving me ideas. I mean, obviously I think as far as YouTube videos and like ideas, that's a never ending, topic. But I think one thing I always try to do is like give myself breaks, because yes, I've gone through the burnout phase. There's a time where I was like, I don't even want to upload a video. I don't even want to go through the steps. I was just like done. I'm like, I didn't even want to make a video. I'm like, I'm not excited about even making the video. So I think it is important to take breaks. That's why one thing the last 2 years, I've really actually stepped away from doing a lot of content creation, because what I've been working on is doing some like home projects or some other properties that I have. I'm working on them. So therefore I could step away from like constantly being in this office making math content. So I think one thing is important is finding a balance for yourself. And then also really focusing in on like, what is it you enjoy and why you're doing it. And I think if you understand that why and what your passion and following that, sometimes those little things that you don't so much enjoy, you find other ways to work around it, like hiring other people or, finding ways for them to be more efficient. Yes, Emmy. All right. Can you maybe do something different away with her? I'm almost done with this. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. I'll talk to her after my live stream. Okay. Thank you. She did not want to be on the live stream. Sorry. That was my younger daughter, Emmy. Maybe one day you guys will see her. Well, awesome, Zed. Good happy out. Hello, sir. How are you? I am from India, sir. I am good at math, but I am struggling in some chapter like conic sections. Main problem, I'm struggling to draw the diagram. So my recommendation for that is like, make sure you identify all the parts, right? The center, the vertex, you make sure you have the foci, make sure you have the major vertices, the minor vertices. And like all those formulas are relatively related, simple, related to each other. So just make sure you list all that stuff out. And then I think, from graphing the conic sections, like just comes with some practice and gets a little bit better. Okay, can you get away from her, please? Sir, do you like physics 11th, 12th grade? I'm a student 12th grade, but in India, I love physics, but not very much in mathematics. Well, you are the exact opposite of me. Um, I do not enjoy physics. I took physics in high school as well as in college, and I just didn't enjoy it. I thought I would enjoy it once I had a little bit stronger math background because I took it in college, in high school, and like I just kind of did what I needed to get by. But I kind of liked it a little bit. But then once I took it in college and I was taking like Calc 2, I was like, wow, I actually really don't enjoy this at all. And so I ended up having to drop out because I just didn't have the time to really put effort into the course. And then I had to retake it. And I think I got a B. But yeah, I didn't. It wasn't my favorite at all. So I just much more enjoy much more of like the pure mathematics. Pure mathematics. Hi, I'm a sophomore in high school. I'm struggling to get good grades in my honors pre-calc class. What do you recommend I change? Well, I'm not sure what you've done, so I can't really recommend what to change. But I will recommend that you have a conversation with your teacher, and they're going to have the best eyes on the ground as far as what you're doing, what you can change, what you need to do to be successful in their course. Because if you were to take my class or you were to take any other class, um, they're going to all be different. So there's going to be different ways that you can get better or that you can improve. So I would just recommend having that conversation with your teacher now that you guys are beginning this new year. It's a great time to do that. So I would recommend having that conversation with your teacher and kind of seeing like, hey, what do I need to improve upon? What can I do better? And can I, hopefully they can help you and monitor you with that process. All right. Hold on one second. Just my wife was calling me, but rather than answering it, I was just figure out text her back. Brian, I'm going back to community college. Awesome. Good for you. I love hearing that. People going back to school. I graduate with an associate's. Should I tell calculus in a 5-week or a full semester? So this is my personal opinion. I would take it in the full semester. I have just seen way too many students that have struggled with taking things in condensed format. That might not be for you. So I would recommend maybe speaking with the guidance counselor, speaking with the professor based on your previous math knowledge and understanding and grades. Maybe the condensed version might be better for you, or with what you need to achieve as far as your degree, maybe that's what is best for you. I have just found for me, it's always been more beneficial to take math over a longer period because it always just took me a little bit longer to understand and to digest the mathematics. So that's what I would recommend if I was giving the advice to myself and for majority of people. However, you might be different. And I don't want to tell you one thing as a broad advice. So definitely speak with your professor, your guidance counselor, maybe even your parents, and just kind of see what's the right best fit for you. Sir, just did pre-calculus in my first year. Awesome. And of an extended course. And I see in my second year, I'm doing calculus and I see modeling and mostly stuff I did in my first year. Should I go through the basic? Yes, absolutely. So a lot of times, and I'm not sure exactly on your question, but like everything builds on itself, And so there's a reason why we do a lot of that review in the beginning of those years of if any semester year is because you start to see in that second semester, like things get more in depth and we start learning different concepts that are related to, and they are dependent on you having that foundational knowledge. So yes, even if it feels like a review and it's easy and it's basic, I would still recommend going back through it because the more times you go through things, that's what I talked about earlier, is you get that deeper depth. And I think that's something very, very important that students kind of overlook a lot of times. They feel like, oh, I know something or I know how to do this. And then they're like, I don't need to relearn it again. I don't need to go through it again. But the one thing they're missing is the depth of their understanding. And I think that's something really, really important for us to grow mathematically, is to understand we need to have a depth of our understanding, not just a surface level understanding. Is it normal and okay for me to really mostly focus on square roots in Algebra 1, but not understand deeply with simplifying cube roots with exponents and variables. I mean, is it normal? Of course. Like the square root is obviously, I think, much more applicable and going to be much more often used. So I feel like we're going to have a better and easier understanding with dealing with square roots. Whereas cube roots, fourth roots, and fifth roots, they don't come up as much. And so our familiarity with them is going to be a little bit more limited. I can completely agree. However, the relationships between simplifying square roots, simplifying cube roots, simplifying fourth roots, and fifth roots is very much connected. And they're very, very similar to each other. So it'll take a little bit more practice, but I wouldn't say for you just to give up and just say, oh, well, since square root shows up more often, I'm not going to worry about cube roots and, fourth roots, fifth roots. I think that will help with your depth of your understanding to know those higher powers or higher roots. So I wouldn't give up. I'd still work on them. But yeah, it's totally normal, right? It's the same thing. Like, what was I thinking? Like factoring trinomials. Everybody's much prefer factoring trinomials when a is equal to 1 rather than a is not equal to 1. And more examples are when a is not equal, or when a is equal to 1 than when a is not equal to 1. But it doesn't mean we don't need to know the other process. And I think when we understand the other techniques, it even further solidifies the process that we're learning as well. User grades was good in university. They're okay. There wasn't like, I think B. I was just like a solid B student. Nothing crazy, nothing great. I'm starting trig in class for the spring semester. I'm kind of nervous. Do you have any advice for how to prepare for this class? I bought the Trig 8 textbook by Charles McKee. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming your teacher or your professor would have some things that you need to know. Or maybe you can speak with your professor that you currently took and, kind of get some advice or some guidance. I'm not familiar with the course or the teacher, or even the book. So I can't really speak to that fact, but, just reach out to the resources that you have, the people that are working inside the university and kind of see what some good materials or some topics that you should focus on. I don't know. Never had to take it, or never taught any content from it. So I guess I'd have to do a little bit more research on it as well. How do you think I should go about doing gossing elimination when the working out is so long? I remember doing some of those very long problems, and I'm not sure if there is a way from getting in through the hard work. And I think sometimes we show everybody the hard work so we can see once there's those shortcuts, it's like, that's why it works. But some of those problems are going to be long. I get it. I did them too. And I think sometimes that struggle and the work is part of the solution for seeing the shortcuts from on there. So my advice for you is keep on working through it, but trust me, it'll get better. All right, guys, this is going to be it for the Sunday stream. Thank you so much for joining me. I wish you guys all a best of week back to school, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys on the Saturday stream. You sent one more, so I'll do this. Should I just focus on higher roots in Algebra 2 because I'm eager to do it in geometry? Yeah, if you haven't taken higher roots in Algebra 2, oh yeah, I forgot you're in Algebra 1. Yeah, just worry about in Algebra 2. If you can focus on square roots, I think that's fine for right now. You can worry about higher roots in Algebra 2. That's much more of a focus then. So, all right, guys, I'll see you next week. And if you have some math questions, go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and I'll look into doing some math on Saturday. All right, cheers.